Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? Had an epiphany. Whatever. Tired. I was reading an article last night on bounding into comics. There's a film critic. He's not just on YouTube. He's with an outfit called Film Threat, but he's got a YouTube channel. His name's Chris Gore. I've seen him on other streams and stuff. I've never actually subscribed to his channel, but I've watched interviews and stuff with him over the years. He seems to mostly know what he's talking about, and he's one of those guys who he's not just a YouTube critic. He's a bit of an industry insider. I guess he's been down there in LA and in Hollywood for a long time. I guess he was treated to a screening of the upcoming Superman movie, and he had a lot of really good things to say about it. And I was thinking, I want to be encouraged by that, because when the first Superman trailer dropped, I watched it, and I wasn't any more or less convinced to see it after the trailer than I was before. I thought there were some things that I liked. There were a couple of things that I've been critical of. I guess last week, a scene dropped, a full clip of it dropped, and again, there were elements of it that I thought were good, and other elements that I was like, what's going on here? I was like, is James Gunn not reining in his worst tendencies here? I need some context. I want it to be good. I love Superman. I went to Superman Returns at midnight when that one came out. And I would love a really great Superman movie. Yeah, I think we're well overdue for one. And David Corenswet has some really big boots to fill by following in Henry Cavill's footsteps, just because so many people loved Cavill's performance. I thought it was great. It sucks that they never gave him a really good script to adapt, but I digress. The point of all of this is to say that I'm not listening to the haters that are just convinced that this movie is going to suck and fail, but I'm also not going to listen to the glazers, as the kids call them, who yeah, I've seen it and it's going to be perfect, it's going to be awesome. I've decided the only opinion that I really trust anymore, outside of a few select people that I know personally and some personalities online, the only opinion that I trust really is my own. And if I'm interested enough to see something, I don't really care what anybody else has to say about it. Even as much as a fanboy as I am of you boy Zach, there have been comics that he's completely torn apart that I've read, and I was like, well, I enjoyed it. I don't even necessarily jump in and talk, well, I like this one. I was like, what does it matter? If he didn't like it and I did, is he going to convince me that I didn't? Am I going to convince him that he should? No. Taste is an individual thing. Nevertheless, he's a critic that I still follow and respect and enjoy, not only because he puts skin in the game. He is himself a creator, not just a YouTuber and a content creator, but he's making great comics. Yeah, that's of value to me. There are critics that have an audience strictly for being critics. This is nothing new. Siskel and Ebert were this way when I was a little kid growing up. But I'm talking about the YouTube guys. It started, I guess the first really huge one back in the 2010s was Jeremy from Cinema Sins. And there have been several others, and probably the most infamous ones these days are guys like Nerdrotic and the Critical Drinker and the dudes from Geeks and Gamers, the ones that Zach calls the birthday party clowns. And I remember thinking a couple of years ago, probably right after I read Drinker's book, Dark Harvest, I was like, there are plenty of critics out there, but these are all guys that are willing to throw a punch but not take one. But I've got respect for critics that will, put a lot of their effort into critiquing and analyzing the creativity of others, but also throw their own out in the world and say, okay, effectively say, hit me back. This is, again, an opinion that I've had to modify recently, because there are critics who are also creatives who make things and put them out into the world, and they suck. And I swore from the beginning, and this is still my rule, I'm not a YouTuber that wants to start crap with anybody. Nevertheless, this is an earnest assessment. Drinker is a talented writer. It baffles me that he continues to write what he does. Dark Harvest was an entertaining book. I think I wrote a review for it over on Upstream. I said, this is like if there was a version of a Dan Brown book that was actually readable. And it helps that he tied it in with a real world mystery, the disappearances and the illness that came out of Dyatlov Pass in Russia in the 40s. Like he weaved that into a tale, and he did a good job of it. I've tried a couple of times to read his Ryan Drake books, and when they're not bad, they're highly derivative, and there are better versions of all those stories out there. A couple of years ago, he released a short. It's called Rogue Elements. Maybe it was just last year. Like he did a Kickstarter to make a short film, and the Kickstarter was successful. The film itself was not. I have not watched the film. I could not make it through the trailer. The dialogue was horrendously bad, and I saw like YouTube boosted this video to me last week by an account called Edgier Than Thou, of a guy who I guess he's also a writer, and he sat down and he watched the whole thing and he clipped it, and he explained, he's like, this is tremendously bad, and he showed clips. I was like, holy hell. And apparently like Drinker did a video addressing the people who watched his movie or his little show and just absolutely hated it, and he spent all of his time like blaming them, like not taking any accountability and saying, okay, here's where I can get better. It's always like, oh, people that didn't like it, they just don't like me, or here's what the director couldn't do, and here's what the actor sucked at. And it's like, that's not how criticism works, bro. Years ago, probably 2008 or so, I remember this was an episode of Writing Excuses. It was a podcast that Brandon Sanderson and his friends put together, and they had an episode, like one of the earlier episodes, on the value of critique groups. He said, here's what you're looking for in a critique group. This, and this. My most important takeaway from that one is, when it's time to get your own writing critiqued by your group, let them read it, and then when they give you feedback, you shut up and listen. When they're talking back and saying, this didn't work for me, like, you don't jump over them and explain, well, there's this, and this. It's like, work that out when it's done, but when the criticism is coming, you listen. And if you miss the mark on something, adapt, fix it, edit. That's what that phase is for. But there is a tendency ingrained in creatives to invariably attach their own self-worth to the quality of their work, and with that comes a delusional quality where they produce something that they think is great, and more power to you. But if you want to put it out for others to enjoy, and especially for it to be commercially successful, and they tell you what's not working about it, you need to listen, and that's how you can improve your craft. If the entire world is just too stupid to understand the brilliance of your work, chances are you are the problem. Anyway, all of this has been swimming around in my head today as I thought, what's the sum total of this video and the opinion here? I guess it's that criticism in and of itself is not a bad thing, but you need to get it from qualified critics. A qualified opinion is what matters. You need to get it from somebody who knows what they're talking about. I will respect that person even more if they themselves are doing something in the field that they criticize, and especially if they do it well. But if you're sitting in the stands at the Olympics and you're criticizing Michael Phelps for how he swims, and not only can you swim maybe barely close to good as he does, but you actually freaking suck at swimming, that's a problem. That's a huge freaking problem. Anyway, hope this has made some sense. I'm going to see that Superman movie when it comes out. The Chris Gore review of it that I read last night, he was saying this movie's so good that Fantastic Four is in trouble. And I was like, well, Fantastic Four comes out 2 weeks after Superman. And that means this new Superman movie would have to be on par with The Dark Knight from 2008. And if you didn't live through that one coming out, it'll be hard for you to understand. But that movie just kept going and going and going for weeks. The real victim of that movie was, I think, the third Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser that came out a week later and just got buried. Everybody was just going to see The Dark Knight over and over. It's still probably the single best Batman movie, and will be for a long time. Haters come at me, I don't care. Superman would have to have that same effect. I don't think that it will, but if it is really great, I would be delighted. Yeah, I'm a Cavill fanboy, but if David Corenswet turns out to be the guy, then that's fantastic. And he's a guy that he had we'll say a bit of an undesirable task thrown on him, and that is to be Superman after Cavill was, especially considering the conditions under which Cavill was dismissed from the role. The fans are almost naturally going to be inclined to be against him. That's not his fault, but it sounds like he's been working extremely hard at it. As far as like nerddom goes, he is one of us. He takes it seriously, and I would love for him to succeed in this one, to be one of those guys that breaks the Superman curse, that does this role and then goes on to have a really tremendously successful career. We'll see what happens. But I would also count it a great success if movies were just fun and enjoyable and of good storytelling quality with great characters again. I'm going to go see that Jurassic World movie and Superman, and hopefully Fantastic Four is good. I probably won't be there opening weekend for that one just because I'm already going to the movies twice in July and my kids want to see Jurassic World. But, Fantastic Four will still be around in August, and I can check it out then when nothing else good is coming out. I guess in the end, what I'm saying is, like, I'm largely done with critics. There are so few of them left that I care about and that I trust their opinion or not, that I just don't bother with it anymore. Drinker makes his bones as a critic, which is good because he's not very good at coming up with good ideas for books. Jeremy from Cinema Sins. I remember watching his early videos that were like 6, 7, 10 minutes long. It's like, okay, this is cool. Oh, he caught this. No, that's neat. When The Winter Soldier came out and he released like a 20-minute video on it, I remember thinking, nope, go to hell. I don't care what your opinions are on that one. This is the best Marvel movie out there. And if you're going to sit there and chop at it for 20 minutes and nitpick, this is not what I signed on for. And then I read his book and it wasn't very good either. Anyway, that's why I try to do what I do and to do it carefully and thoroughly and honestly, but with an eye towards boosting things that are great and, hoping that people will check out my stuff and have a similar experience with it. But long story short, critics suck, and even some of the ones in the arena suck. Drive safe. See you out there.